Hello everyone, Pastor Clinton House here. Many of you have been asking about how can you become a member of this glorious church from all over the world, from Canada, Africa, wherever you're at. We're starting our e-church. What I want you to do for us is go to our website, www.mfmv.org, and go into I'm New. When you get there, there is a form you would fill out to how to become a new member. We want to connect with you. Dr. House and I are excited that God is using us in this season to help you along your Christian journey. Come along and let's go together. God bless you.
Hey family, where you guys at? I see you. Now I know you've been enjoying the messages so far on our MFM app, but we have some exciting news for you. You now can go on YouTube and click subscribe to Clinton House Ministries. Don't forget to click the bell so you get notifications on your phone. We have messages from the past, the present, and the future. But we hope to see you guys soon.
Welcome back, our Mountaintop family, our e-church family from around the world. So glad you tuned back in. I hope you've been enjoying these wonderful panel discussions and programs we're presenting to you. A little different from Wednesday night flow, but I pray that you're gleaning the information and the message that's being sent. Now, take a moment again and share this program. Take your time and go ahead, hit the share button. Call up some family and friends and start a watch party and let them tune in to the discussion tonight. It's going to be a little different tonight. You're going to have your pastor on the hot seat, wearing that some wonderful youth here, and young people are going to be asking me some questions that I will take the fifth on most of them, but nevertheless we'll be able to chime in and respond to the things that's being asked of me. I'll be able to chime in and respond to the things that's being asked of me. Now listen, this is the time of year that you get with family, time of Thanksgiving. I want you to make sure that you're prayerful and you're thankful. Gather around your family. Remember those who don't have as we do, even in the midst of this pandemic, but we're thankful. Don't eat too much. Don't make promises you're going to work it all off at the first of the year, but pace yourself and enjoy your family, enjoy the food that's being set before you. So let's get started and let's get into this wonderful discussion. We have Brandon here to my right, to my left. We have Kali and we also have Austin, and they're going to take it from here. Enjoy the narrative.
All right, I'm going to jump right in. So, Pastor, my first question for you, considering the climate of this year as a whole, it's been kind of a rocky one. And so, being a spiritual advisor for a lot of people during a time of depression, loneliness, grievance, how has that actually made you a better pastor? And then what have been some of your challenges, for the better or the worse?
In this time of distancing, it made me better to know how to pray more. Because normally as a pastor, you're able to touch people and pray with people. Now I have to rely on the Holy Spirit to do that gathering and that touching, the comforter that can transcend all times, no matter the time that we're in. The loss of love and the depression that people are going through, it made me more sensitive and compassionate because everybody don't have anyone to go to. And the breakups that are happening, the sadness that's taking place in families and domestic violence, it shift my prayer life to a whole nother level to understand that the enemy is fighting for winning and for taking complete victory. So it really built my faith and built my sensitivity to people.
Okay. How was the transition for you to be preaching in front of like a live crowd and then now just to the camera and now to a limited attendance? How has that changed?
Confusing.
Yeah, I bet.
It was totally confusing. 30 years in ministry, all my life in church, it's not that we seek call and response, but you do want communication. If I'm saying something, you communicate with some action. It was a great challenge, one I had to do, obviously, but it was very challenging because each week you just didn't know. I don't know if you meditate or but when you're in that place, you hear that other voice saying, it's not working, stop, get up. But when you're ministering to a blank room, the Spirit is saying, get it, go, preach the word. The enemy is saying, you're messing up, it doesn't make any sense, nothing. So you have to fight through that warfare. It was very challenging, very challenging.
And my first question for you is going to be, what is it like being a pastor in a pandemic?
Good question. A global disease, being a pastor in a pandemic. I can't put my thumb on, my finger on the one thing, so it's a broad narrative. You become a master, not a master, I'm sorry, wrong terminology. You become stretched to where that you have to now adapt to every moment. And you don't know what that moment's going to be because it's changing each week. Structure and consistency as a pastor is what's needed. In a pandemic, you have to be elusive and changing and revolving every moment. So that was a great stretch. It's a stretching effect. Yeah.
Okay, it's back to me. I actually just kind of formulated this question after listening to what you and Brandon were discussing recently, but I heard about, stretching, and
Yes.
pastors, they have to extend themselves in a way that I don't think a lot of people are sympathetic or empathetic towards. And so in a time like this where you really do have to extend yourself, I think even further than what you ever have had before, how do you take time to escape to make sure that you're okay, if that makes any sense?
Yes, it does. Good question. I take time in between the moments, and these moments were coming so fast. I would take a drive. I would take the 215 and drive all the way around and go back home. Nothing but silence in the car. I would drive out to Lake Mead, stand there and just look at the water, praying I had my boat that I can go fishing. But I would do something to shift me out of the mayhem that I'm going through. If I didn't, then that cloud of depression starts setting in. Yeah.
So my next question is just in general, what are some new routines you actually came up with, or new hobbies you started doing?
One routine is walking. I never did like walking. Dr. House liked to walk, get out and just walk. But I found it soothing and relaxing to walk. Another routine is that I started just doing more workout at home because I can't get to the gym. I know I don't look that big, but I would work out and take myself through that regimen and routine. Reading, get into a different book, something that The Three Blind Mice by James Robertson. Start reading that book, just something that would take me away from the norm of what I was doing. But I have to keep shifting my mind. And I would go home and watch The Godfather or The Tombstone.
It's a good escape movie.
Man,
Yeah.
my next question would be, since tomorrow is, one of the greatest holidays ever, I love me some Thanksgiving.
Yes.
What do you do with your family during Thanksgiving?
Yeah. I'm honestly pretty quiet. The house is full of people. Food is starting to be cooked by Dr. House and Candace late at night. The smell is dominating the whole house. And everyone comes over, you name it, the potato pies, the apple pies, the peach cobblers, the chickens, the roasted turkey, all the smells. And I would nibble on something. That's about it. But I would just love knowing that all that is wrapped around me and the family's in a good place. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You're actually like killing me with all the questions. I'm over here stumped. Okay, let's see what I want to dive into. Okay, for you, Pastor, especially with you and First Lady, always covering a multitude of people, how have you altered how you've had to cater to people? I know we've had like e-church and stuff like that.
Right.
Has there been, I know there's always, spiritual guidance and things. How have you been able to kind of redirect the way you do that?
Wonderful staff, elders and ministers that are on staff, they pretty much covered all that for me. Even though people were knocking on the door and want to get to the pastor, want to talk to the pastor, want to meet with the pastor, want to Zoom with the pastor, they would cover that. And for the greater point, people were sensitive to know that I'm working harder than I've ever worked in 30 years of ministry. So there wasn't a great pull, but those who needed me, I would make the phone call. I would try to reach out and communicate to that. But I would direct it mostly to your question, directly back to my elders and ministers, and they covered that for me.
My next question is kind of outside of the church, really. Is there any new TV shows you got into or anything?
Salone. It's this movie called Salone. And it's a good movie, but it's a lot of shooting in it. But it was a good movie. I enjoyed Salone. Yeah, that was about it.
That's it.
I'm old school. I mean, I want to watch Tombstone. I'll go watch Godfather again, episode 1, 2, 3, because I know where it's going and I learn something through it every time.
Every time it's something new.
Man. What was your best personal experience through this pandemic with a client or someone who needed your help?
Wow. Let's see. There's a lot of them. The best one. That's hard questions, Brenda. The best personal experience, I guess, would be of hearing. There it is. Okay, at a lady, and she lives in Henderson. She catches 6 buses to get to church, 3 to come, 3 to go. So the personal experience, I guess it's personal because it involves me, is that she called and said, I saved her life. It's like, what do you mean you saved my life? Your preaching, your inspiration, the word, the encouragement of that just built me up to know that you're on point and you're on time, you're on target. So that was one of the many experiences. Yeah.
I love hearing about that. I always tell people it's just the little things you don't think that you do that actually end up blessing people. My next question to you, Pastor, not necessarily church related, but 2020, I think everybody at the end of 2019, we had big goals and visions for 2020. It's a new decade, perfect vision, 2020.
Yes.
New year, new decade, all that. How did you deal with personal altercations, or I guess that's a word, yeah, with how you view 2020 to be?
The outcome of it. It was, I know keep using the word challenging, but it was very anticlimactic because I thought for sure that was where we're going and where we're headed. But it wasn't coming out like that. It was a whole nother picture. So the letdown to that was very weighty in my spirit and in my mind. Like, this is, I believe this was where we're going, 2020, perfect vision. But I always come back to a little magnet that's in my office downstairs. Sister Sherry Coleman gave it to me when I first started pastoring. And it says, we plan, God laughs. So I looked at 2020 and said, okay, you must
What did I plan?
something was, we planned this, but you're not laughing as a sense of us failing, but I had to make some adjustments. Carly, I just keep making those adjustments.
So my next one's actually be, what were some of your pros and cons during the pandemic, and also like when you're preaching and stuff, like just with the camera, what were some pros and cons to that too?
To the cons, it was I'm trying to say the wrong depressing words, but it was defeating and depleting because you can't really tell, are you reaching, are you making the point? So why do we keep doing something and you don't feel the results? You hear the results, but you don't feel it. And that was the con sides of it that just kept just pulling that depletion out of you every time you go through it. The pros is that you're able to do it, and God gave you this skill and gifting to be able to communicate at that level, and then start seeing the results of that. I'm being blessed. The word is coming. I'm excited about it, but I'm not feeling nothing. The metaphor is like diving in a pool and you can't get wet inside.
I never heard that before.
I promise you that's going in my notes, y'all. I promise you that one.
But you promise that you're wet. I'm wet, but I can't get wet inside.
Diving back into that amazing quote you just told me. My question for you to be, other than the Bible, what's your favorite book to read and to reflect on yourself with?
You make me go through my whole library if I turn and pick the one out. Goodness. Unplug, the power of living in the present now. That's a good book. Have you read it?
I actually have. Kind of know the author, you know, so it's crazy.
It's a good book. It's a good book. Yeah, that's one. But James Peterson is a good writer, and the book I mentioned minutes ago, he writes The Three Blind Mice, and the narratives of the book just takes you through so many different roads of stories that are unfolding. Yeah, and The Greatest Salesman in the World, maybe 50 pages. I don't know if you ever read it. You call it Greatest Salesman in the World. It's a small book. It's airplane read from here to Los Angeles, but it just always keeps me in that motivation and encouragement. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm big on love.
I'm
always pushing for like
Oh.
love and humanity.
Yes.
And so one thing I've seen is a struggle for people to differentiate love and support. And so we're in a time where there's a lot of new things happening, and you know, there's new things being implemented, things we never changed, things being broadcasted that we've never seen. And so people say, okay, well, I don't support it. So that non-support ends up being broadcasted as hate.
Right.
And there's a way to love people without
Yes,
supporting.
yes,
You know,
yes.
my mom and I always have this conversation. I said, Mom, if I were to go out and do X, Y, and Z, this, would you still love me? Of course I would.
Yes.
But you're just not supporting those
me,
actions.
yes.
So how do you as a pastor teach really what I think is like one of the most basic things in the world to do, which is to love? How do you do that when it seems to be so complicated?
Love is a level of 4. You deal with Stoa, family. You deal with agape, God's supreme love. You deal with eros, which is the intimate love, and you deal with phileo. It all flows out of agape. Agape, it goes to phileo, it goes to eros and Stoa, family. So you mentioned love and support. I love my brother, but I can't support you robbing this bank. My love for you is support, but not in the essence of what you want me to buy into and want me to validate this. Love is tough and love is hard. If that's your decision and choice, this is what I want to do, I still love you, but I'm not going to put myself in a position wherein that I'm going to affirm or validate what you're doing right now. A young lady texted me, emailed me during the marches and the protesting, and was asking, can I go protest? I said, yes, you can. She said, well, you're going to support, I'm not supporting you. Asked me, can you go? You want to protest? Protest, you know, push your voice out there. I'm not going to stop loving you because we agree to disagree. To me, love is the giving the best of oneself for the other's glory.
That's actually really close to, I've taken several theology classes to the school I went to, and the definition that one of my theology teachers used is willing the good of the other as other.
Good.
And so it's actually kind of crazy because pretty much it's the same thing, different wording, so I like that.
Cool. Awesome.
So I couldn't really do this without talking about your shoes. They're looking pretty. What's your dream pair of shoes?
The dream pair of shoes to me is what's comfortable
Woo-woo,
on your feet.
comfort.
I went through this series of years of getting all the Nikes, but mine, I like Prada. It's like the Prada shoes. It lasts, got rubber, it's comfortable. That's my shoe.
Yeah.
Prada.
Prada, not now.
Prada. Let's see. Going back on to what Kali said, with love, how would you tell a person who's fighting depression? Like, how would you explain that it's going to be better and you'll get over it?
Yeah. That person first have to be internalized within themselves to see what have they already accomplished. Grief is good if you use it properly, but if I stay in grief too long, it's going to destroy me. So if I love myself, I have to abandon that grief. I have to pull up out of that. Depression is the dark cloud that comes over everyone, but loving myself first is what's going to get me out of that. Well, I can't love myself. I don't feel love. I don't feel I'm going to make it through this. This is not your first fight. You've had battles before. This might be a bigger giant, but you can conquer it by loving yourself. And by all means, don't tell me you love me when you can't love yourself.
really good. Sorry, it was funny. I was like looking through my like questions I thought I could ask.
Just
It's just
balance.
crazy how things go in a different direction.
Correct. Yeah.
Going off of depression,
Yes.
and I think whether people want to recognize it or not, it's something that we all battle with at
It's
some point
real.
of our life, and it's real. And for me, everybody always looks at me, I'm very energetic and optimistic. I will light up a room in a heartbeat. But this year particularly, I find myself jumping in and out of those moments of depression, and it hurts, you know.
Yes.
And so I guess my question for you, Pastor, is there ever times where you're in the middle of a battle and people come to you? How do you redirect people to care when you were unable, I want to say unable, but not in a season
Right,
where you can
right.
truly, you know, render care to them in the way that they need it?
Yes. It's, I mean, it's a spin off of Brandon. It's an athletic movement. He can be having a bad day, but when they say hike, he gonna score. I can have a low day, but that grace and that gifting that's in me, if it's pulled on, I can respond. The burden of that is that once it goes, Jesus called it virtue,
Yeah.
then you drop. But
You're
you
waiting to
respond.
refill up.
Yeah. And people, they'll constantly pull on that and think that you have no threshold, but you know your threshold. And it can be overwhelming at times when you leave. You just feel like you've just been washed out. It's a gift. It's just innate gift. Yeah.
Well, this sounds like a really common question, but what made you want to become what made you want to become a pastor? My bad.
Never wanted to become a pastor. What made me was your Father in heaven. It was an option: serve me, or that's it. Do what I asked you to do, or take the obvious. It wasn't fear, it was just fact. You do what I asked you to do, or take the obvious. What was that? I didn't know. So I said, let me try it. Maybe I might be able to do it. If I can't do it, then I know I can't do it. But it wasn't something, Austin, that I wanted to do. I mean, you heard in my stories, I wanted to be a builder. I wanted to be a contractor. I wanted to just have my life and be free. I wanted to do what you all do. Just have a good time and still be a believer. But no, it wasn't something I was looking to do. Didn't even go to school for it. I went to church. Yeah. You guys are getting me too deep over here. You get me all sentimental in this moment.
All right, you guys lighten up the
Good
questions.
question,
Let's
good
go.
question.
All right. What's your favorite Thanksgiving meal? It's the mac and cheese, the ham, man. Can't wait.
Of course, mac and cheese, definitely peach cobbler. Thank you, Dr. House. And the all the sides to go with it, the greens that are there, and the cornbread, all that good stuff. Yeah.
Sorry, so excited. I'm hungry now. Okay, let's keep it easy going. We're talking about food. Let's go to sports. Sports changed a lot this year.
Oh, God.
Going to basketball, I know a lot of your family members are very Lakers heavy. Are you as well?
Turn the camera off for a moment. I'm on sabbatical right now. Go to State Warriors.
Ooh.
Yes.
Ooh. We'll have to talk about this off camera.
No, we don't. Warrior Nation.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah. Go to State Warriors. I like Steve Kerr and the way he developed that team. I'm still hurt that the NBA broke up that dynasty. I mean, purposely so. They knew them guys would have just been
Back to back.
Wouldn't no be no stopping, you know. Yeah, but that's life.
It is.
What's your favorite team?
So I don't necessarily say I have a favorite team. It's wherever Russell Westbrook is. I love OKC because that's where he spent most of his time. So I think I've grown to love OKC.
Yeah.
He's with the Rockets right now. I'm not a fan of the Rockets, but because he's there, I'll put up with it.
Yes.
But any day I'm with Russell Westbrook, I will state his stats in a heartbeat. I love him.
Great guy, amazing player.
Yes,
Met him,
absolutely.
took pictures with him.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
OKC was playing the Lakers, and at that time, one of the players there, I see his name, I can't call his name right now, but anyway, a friend of Candace, they had the game, I went there, and I was able to get backstage, take pictures, and meet everybody, so it was a wonderful thing.
I would have passed out. No way I would have been able to compose myself.
So
how did you feel? Like, 'cause I'm pretty sure Kobe's death impacted like a lot of people that didn't even watch basketball. That just like, oh, everyone knows Kobe.
Right.
How did that impact you in any way?
Saddened that a life with such great potentials would cut so short. Awakening to the fact that here is a young man that got everything, and to show you how short and uncertain life is. So it's awakening for his tragic death and his daughter and those people that were with him. So it's like, Lord, teach me to number my days. There's no guarantee that I'm flying on a plane or going anywhere that I'm going to make it back. So alarming, awakening, and awing. So yeah, going to miss that mumble. Yeah.
R.I.P.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm good.
You good? Are you enjoying this? Are you learning something about your pastor? You have questions too, I'm sure. Please don't send them in. we want to make sure that you just know more that what I'm doing and what God has called me to do, it's not that I'm saying it's not easy to make it an escape. It's just letting you see the realness and the genuineness of my heart, and thanking God that I'm able to do what God's called me to do, and your prayers allow me to get through this. It's a blessing being with you tonight. I know you're excited about what's coming. It's better than what's been, and we're looking forward to a great and a powerful, awesome time in the coming of this, in the ending of this year. Celebrate our panelists again. Put the hearts in there, put the high fives in there, and let them know you're thankful to be on this. They were thankful they were on this panel with us on tonight. I'm sorry. God bless you. Stay safe, stay faithful, and stay connected. We'll see you soon.
Available now, Unplug by Clinton House. The power of living in the present now. Clinton House masterfully teaches on how to unload and strip from the hurts of our past while strengthening our spirits and souls to repair. Download your copy today. Available at clintonhouse.org, amazon.com, Kindle Nook, and iBookstore.